Hello, everyone. Welcome back for a little TLC. We are officially in our series where we're talking about our willingness to leave everything behind to follow Jesus, where we're going to be talking about some things that may prevent us or hinder us from giving Jesus our all or following Jesus with everything that is within us. I came up with this series because I was impressed in the middle of my Bible reading challenge or app with some others when the first disciples were willing to drop everything, their families, their livelihood, their wealth, in order to follow Jesus. And it really made me ask myself, what prevents me from doing the same thing? And so since that time, I've continued with that same Bible reading app, and there have been so many examples that come right after of some reasons why folks don't follow Jesus wholeheartedly. So we're going to get into one of those examples today. And I think I'm going to summarize it by saying comforts or wanting to have material possessions may be a reason why we are hindered from following Jesus. Let's get into it. Okay, so I realized as soon as material possessions / comforts came out of my mouth, I realized that could be two separate videos. So I'm just going to read the scripture and then we can decide by the end of the video which one or if both of them seems to go with this particular hindrance. So I'm coming out of Matthew chapter 8, verses 19 through 20, and it reads, "And a scribe came up and said to him, 'Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go.' And Jesus said to him, 'Foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head.'" And so I'm just going to end it there. We probably get to the rest of that paragraph in a later video. But essentially, this man is saying, "I follow you wherever you go." And Jesus says, you're not going to have a home, basically, if you're choosing to follow me. And so that could, I don't ever really hear about whether this person decided to follow Jesus or if that was something that turned them away. I would assume that it was something that turned them away. I don't hear anything about their name later on. But I think it's like, dang, Jesus, this person wants to follow you. And your response to them is you're literally going to be homeless. Like, you're going to be a nomad if this is the route that you decide to take. And I think that could be a very hard pill to swallow. I don't even know if I would be following if it meant that I wasn't going to be able to have what I think is a basic necessity, and that is a place to lay my head. Jesus says here, like, these animals have a place for them to stay, but when you're following me, it might cause you to lose your place of residency. You may feel uncomfortable when it comes to like, what place am I supposed to be calling home, because you don't have that place. And I don't know if Jesus was saying that literally, because of course, several of his disciples still had places to lay their head. But they did a lot of traveling as they were preaching the gospel. Jesus had to teach them a lot about how some places may not even welcome you there as you are spreading the gospel, and they still had to choose to go that route anyway. That was a part of them following Jesus at all costs. So is not having a place to call home, a place where you know folks are going to welcome you, a place where you can lay your head, something that would hinder you from following Christ? I'll be honest, for me, the answer is possibly. I have not had to give that up. I have definitely been in a position where I'm like, I don't quite feel like I fit in here, but not to the point of I just feel totally homeless and that I have no place to lay my head. But it's quite possible that if that were the case, if we were living in the same circumstances as Jesus and his disciples were back then, that would have been a hindrance for me. I'm interested to know what you all think. If Jesus had this response to you when you gave your life to him, like, you're about to be homeless, you're not going to have any place to call home, would you have still chosen to follow the Lord? Now that I'm reading over this, I'm not necessarily sure that it is a wealth thing, but I think this is a basic need, like a basic comfort type of thing. Sometimes following Jesus is going to require us to give up what we consider to be comfortable for us. In this instance, it was a place to live, but maybe it's not complete and outright homelessness, but maybe the cost of following Jesus is perhaps you're not going to have that large mansion that you want on this side of heaven. Perhaps you have to live a more simple lifestyle. Is that going to be something that will turn you away from the Lord? Perhaps you can't eat at all the fancy places and have those types of comforts, but you have it what you need. These disciples, they would later on have exactly what they needed. Is that going to be enough to deter you from following the Lord? I once read a book called Comfortable Christianity, where the author was essentially saying, we don't really have to worry about those things. In this day and age, at least if we are a Christian in America. But is this something that could hinder our walks with Christ? If some of the comforts that we have, some of the luxuries that we have were taken away, would that completely rock our faith? Just something for us to think about. So for this first video on leaving it all to follow Christ, I want us to think about what comforts we have currently that if the Lord asked us to give them up, would cause us to question, potentially cause us to not want to follow because we're so used to that particular comfort. Just something to think about. This is the first one. There are many more examples that I've been learning about as I've continued on through the book of Matthew and some other scriptures that I have in mind. Are comforts something that can prevent us from following Jesus altogether, or at least with our whole heart? I'd love to know what you all think about this one. Please make sure you comment, like, and share. I hope everyone has a wonderful week, and I will see you next time for a little TLC. Bye-bye.